Effie, and this is What Effie Reads. It's almost the start of a new month, which means it's time for my TBR game. Apologies if the lighting's a bit strange. I guess it's a sunny day in Scotland today. I don't really know. For those that don't know, my TBR game basically involves me playing a game of Pokemon, and then depending on which Pokemon I encounter in the game will help me decide which books I am going to put on my TBR. I will pop the video introducing my TBR game in the cards up above if you want to check that out. But otherwise, stay tuned and let's find out what I'm going to add to my TBR. I didn't have the best of luck in actually prioritising my TBR books last month, but I think that's partially because I didn't put compulsory reads and I didn't put audiobooks on my TBR, so I'm hoping I'm going to have better luck this month. And I'm planning on putting 8 books on my TBR again this coming month. Before I get into the TBR game, I just want to go over my compulsory reads for the month of July. So first up, we've got the Bookish Bestie Buddy Read, which is the buddy read that Shannon over at Head in the Books and myself do. We're hoping to possibly have a live show towards the start of August for anyone that would like to chat to us about the book that we do choose to pick. So I guess keep an eye out for that. We have both managed to get advance copies of the new Riley Saga. So we'll be reading Survive the Night. However, we won't be discussing that one as we're aware that it is Kayla's literally dead book club pick. I think that's the name of the club. However, we are also going to be reading Rainbow Grey by Laura Ellen Anderson. So that is the book that we will be discussing when we do a live show, if anyone would like to join us. The other physical read that I'd possibly like to do is On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden, which is the Queer Picture Book Club pick for July. The reason that it's just a possibility is I actually just read it in June, so it's still very fresh in my mind, but also I absolutely adored it, so I wouldn't mind rereading it. However, I don't know if I'll be able to prioritise it in July, considering it will be a reread. And then I've got a couple of advanced copies of books that I need to read in July. We've got Junk, which comes out on the 1st. It's a 25th anniversary edition, so it's not exactly a new book, but it's a book that I've never read before. And because it's out on the 1st, I would like to have actually read it in June. However, I'm not convinced that I'm going to be able to read it before July, so that's going to be the top priority because it comes out on the 1st. And then we've got Out of Character, which comes out on the 6th of July. And then we have Transmuted, which comes out on the 15th of July. I likely will also have a book for Spoops' Patreon book club to read. It is a bi-monthly. Each pick runs for 2 months, so it's also like if I can't get to it this month, I could always read it in August. However, at the time of filming, that book hasn't been picked yet, so I can't tell you what it's going to be because nobody knows. So let's get into my TBR game. To keep things a little bit interesting, and because you come across quite a lot of Pokemon when playing Pokemon, I've decided that I'm going to use a random number generator to decide at what point in my game I start counting the encounters with Pokemon, if that makes sense. So the Let's Play for this month is 31 minutes long. So I'm going to pop into a random number generator, like between 1 and 31, and then whatever number it comes out with, it'll be the first 8 encounters that I have from that point. And if I get to the end of the video and I haven't had 8 encounters, I will loop it back round. And as always, I will pop the Let's Play in the cards if you do want to check it out for yourself. Obviously, absolutely no obligation, just if you're interested. So I'm opening up my randomizer. Can you see? You might be able to just about see that. Okay. Oh, there we go. Just about see it there. Okay, and generate a number, so it's 14. So it will be the first 8 Pokemon I see after the 14th minute. So the first Pokemon will be... Yay! I caught a Drillbur. Okay, so just after the 14-minute mark, I just finished a battle with a Pokemon. However, on screen, I must have caught a wild Pokemon because on screen's popped up a information for a Drillbur, so I'm going to count that as my first Pokemon encounter. And Drillbur is a ground type, which means that I need to put a non-fiction book on my TBR. So I'm just going to go over to, you can't see them, the bookcase with the doors just here, and have a look and see what non-fiction I've got. I have chosen out a book from my non-fiction bookcase. However, I have also completely forgotten that I have audiobooks that I've borrowed from the library. So I'm going to try and include as many of them into this TBR as well, going forward. But the first book that I've picked is In Black and White by Alexandra Wilson. And let's see what the second Pokemon I encountered was. Oh, I've been challenged to a battle. Oh, I wonder what Pokemon she'll send out. Let's see. Oh, Diglett. Okay, so I just need to check what type Pokemon the next one I encountered was, but as you saw, I encountered a Diglett as part of a battle that I was challenged to, so let's see what type it was. I've got a horrible feeling it's another ground type. This could be an interesting TBR if it's all non-fiction heavy. Yes, it is another ground type, so I'm going to see if I have a non-fiction audiobook. And I do. I have Invisible Women by Caroline Criado-Perez. Obviously I haven't started the audiobook yet, so I'm not 100% sure how that is pronounced, but that will be the second book on my TBR, and let's see what the next book will be, or rather let's see what the next Pokemon I encountered will be and what book that will mean. And now the next Pokemon is a Drillbur. Nice. So it was another Drillbur, which means that I need to add another non-fiction book to my TBR. I'm just going to check my Audible to see if I have any non-fictions on there, as I don't have any other non-fiction from the library. I think I'm going to add The Wicked Boy by Kate Summerscale. I think it's non-fiction. It says it's true crime and biography and memoirs. So hopefully that will be non-fiction. It looks to be. Let's see if I can get any books that aren't non-fiction. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't mind non-fiction, but it would be nice to have a little bit of a varied TBR. So let's see what the next Pokemon I encountered was. That is an adorable Pokemon. I want that. So the next Pokemon that I encountered was a Woobat, which apparently is a psychic flying type. For psychic, I have to open up YouTube, and the first booktuber that I see, I need to pick a book they've either recommended or I think that they would like. So this could be fun. Right, so get my YouTube open. This is my personal YouTube, which is why it's probably a little bit odd. It is Jade. Okay. Ooh, which means I get to pick middle grade. Right, let me have a look at my shelves. Like, obviously Jade isn't just middle grade. She does read other stuff, and I could quite easily put some V-Swab on there because that's very much like one of her favourite authors. But I just figure balance out all my heavy non-fiction with some middle grade. So I have picked these two. So I've got Mad, Bad and Dangerous to Know and Rumesa. Because a Woobat is a dual flying and psychic, what I'm going to say is that I am going to read one of these two books, and it will just depend what I choose to mood read during the course of July. So it's between these two. Okay, and let's see what my next Pokemon that I encountered was, and see if I end up having to put even more non-fiction onto my list for this month. What's this Pokemon? It's a Timber. The next Pokemon that I encountered was a Timber. So I'm just going to see again what type of Pokemon that was. I have a feeling it was a fighting type, but I could be completely wrong there. No, it is a fighting type, which means that I need a book that features a tournament or a big battle. Let's see. It's really difficult because off the top of my head, I obviously don't know any books that feature that. So I'm going to have a bit of a Google, see if I can come up with anything. So having had a look, I think the most appropriate book to put on will be Three Dark Crowns, which I'll just grab off my bookcase. Okay, so I'm going to pop Three Dark Crowns on there because apparently it has a tournament in it. It makes sense because it's like three sisters, I think, fighting for the crown. So I'm going to pop that on my TBR. And I think we're up to, what are we up to, 5 now? I think it's 5. Yeah, I'm going to say 5. So let's see what my next Pokemon that I encountered was. Maybe I'll be able to get a Diglett after I battle this creepy person that just winked at me. So the next Pokemon that I encountered was when I was challenged to a battle and I encountered a Roly-Coly, which I have a feeling that's going to be a ground type, but let me just double check. Oh no, it's a rock type. For those that aren't familiar with my TBR game, a rock type is a book that's over 500 pages long. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is check the audiobooks I've got from the library and see if their physical forms are over 500 pages, because that'll be a great way to tick a book off. None of the audiobooks I've got are over 500 pages long, so I'm going to have a think and get back to you. So I realised that I have Tommy by Junji Ito, and it is over 700 pages long, so it would definitely count for a book over 500 pages. But it's also a manga, so hopefully it will read quite quickly, because over 500 pages is a hefty book to add to a month where I've already got 5 compulsory reads before I even start the month. Okay, so I think that was book 6, so 2 more encounters. So let's see what Pokemons I next saw. It's running away. The next Pokemon that I encountered was another Diglett, so it looks like I'm going to be adding another non-fiction to my TBR. I realised that last month, the months before, Queer Book Box pick was How to Be Autistic by Charlotte Amelia Poe. It looks to be fairly short. I don't know if it is. Yeah, it's only 153 pages long, so hopefully it'll be quick. And because it's a Queer Book Box pick, it'll be queer, which is definitely something I'm very interested in. Always. So that is book number 7. So let's see what my 8th and final Pokemon encounter was. Is this like a second rival one? Ooh, that's a cool Pokemon though. So the final Pokemon that I encountered was Solosis. I'm just checking what type it is, because it's definitely, I don't know what any of the Pokemon are. I was going to say it's definitely not a Pokemon I'm familiar with, but I'm 100% not familiar with Solosis. Apparently it's a psychic type, which means that I need to open up my YouTube again and see who the first booktuber I come across is. It'd be interesting if it's another Jade one, but we'll see. Okay, so that's my YouTube loading. Oh. And that is Maddie, I think. Yeah, that is Maddie's. What to pick for Maddie? Yeah, I'm reorganising my shelves at the moment, which is so I've got a massive stack of books behind me. Yeah, so Maddie. I could pick something dystopian, or I could go for Wanton Future Witches, which is one of her favourites, or Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I feel like there's loads of choices for Maddie. I've had a bit of a think. It's about an hour since I last filmed, so that's why the lighting's completely different. And I'm gonna put the Wanton Future Witches on my TBR for that final prompt. The book is currently right at the bottom of a stack of other books, so I won't grab it, but know that it will be popped on my TBR. So that is my 8 books for the month of July. So as far as the pile goes, it only looks like that, but I've got 2 audiobooks that I need to add on to this, plus the ones for Future Witches, which I will grab out the bottom of the pile. And then I also have 3 ebooks that I need to read, plus Rainbow Grey and potentially On a Sunbeam. So that is my TBR for the month of July. Let me know if you've read any of these books, or if you're excited to read any of these books. And also let me know if you think I should tweak the way my TBR game works, so that if a Pokemon comes up multiple times, I have to add another book to my TBR. Do we think that would be fun? And until next time, bye!